The Pianist and the Dancer, The Language of Wood and Plaster, Krakow, 1935. The Theater Stary in Krakow was a building of grand dusty acoustics and peeling velvet seats. Anya spent her evenings in a small, forgotten practice room backstage. Her life was defined by the relentless discipline of ballet, the scent of rosin dust, the ache of tired muscles, and the fierce concentration required to defy gravity. The western wall of her practice room was thick plaster, painted a tired green, and it was also the thinnest barrier separating her from the world outside. Specifically, it separated her from the adjacent building, a dark, quiet piano shop run by the Juk family. Every evening, just as the evening rehearsals concluded, a single piano would begin to play on the other side of that wall. It was never the bright, technical scales of a beginner, nor the grand, familiar concertos. It was soft, searching, deeply melancholy music, melodies that felt like winter sunlight falling on stone. Anya had begun to structure her own practice around this unseen musician. When the music was swift and cascading, she attempted rapid pirouettes. When it slowed to a mournful, hesitant pace, she performed long, trembling arabesques. She was dancing to the story the music told. And in turn, she felt she was giving the notes a physical form they didn't know they needed. She had never seen the pianist, only knew the name of the shop, Pianina Juk. The pianist was Marek, the shop owner's nephew. Marek lived in a world of 88 keys and felt most comfortable in the resonance of a grand piano's open lid. He was a composer who found the demands of selling organs and sheet music a necessary evil. He knew the hours the rehearsals ended, and he knew when the walls went quiet, save for the rhythmic squeak of a single dedicated dancer's shoes. He didn't know her name, but he knew her rhythm. When his music was particularly slow, he could hear the sigh of the point shoes descending to the floor, and he felt the weight of her exhausted breath. He wasn't composing for the world. He was composing for the ghost that moved in the next room. The muted conversation. This silent, shared conversation continued for nearly 4 years. Their lives running in perfect parallel harmony, separated only by a layer of brick and plaster. Then, in the summer of 1939, the music stopped. Not gradually, but with a shocking final abruptness. One evening, as Anya stood poised on her toes, waiting for the familiar, sweeping chord of a piece she loved, there was only silence. The next day, silence. The day after, silence again. The silence was heavier, louder, and more terrifying than any music could be. It felt like a withdrawal, a refusal. Anya couldn't bear it. The weight of the world, already tense with the shadows of political unrest and distant threats, felt unbearable without the music. She finished her rehearsal, wiped the sweat from her neck, and for the first time, did not simply leave. She walked out of the back exit of the theater, down the narrow alley, and knocked on the heavy, dark oak door of Pianina Juk. A young man opened the door. He was handsome, with kind eyes and dust on his tweed jacket. He looked utterly drained. "The music?" she blurted out, unable to be polite. It stopped. "Is the piano broken?" Marek looked at her precise posture, her hair pinned tightly back, the faded theatrical makeup around her eyes. He recognized her instantly by the intense energy she carried. "You," he whispered. "You are the dancer, and you are the one who composes sorrow," Anya replied. "Why did you stop?" Marek stepped back, letting her into the cool, silent shop. "I didn't stop because the piano is broken," he said, gesturing to a sheet of music lying unfinished on the stand. "I stopped because I couldn't write the ending. The melodies, they kept getting darker. I was trying to write a dance of hope, but the world kept demanding a requiem, and I felt," he swallowed hard, "that if I finished the song, it would be the last one." "Then we will finish it together," Anya said, walking straight to the piano. She found the sheet music, a piece titled Whispers Against the Wall. "Play it for me. I will give it the ending you couldn't write," the final flourish. 2 weeks later, the Theater Stary hosted a hasty, small benefit performance, ostensibly for local charities, but truthfully a final act of collective defiance against the gathering storm clouds. Anya and Marek had only 6 rehearsals, but they didn't need many. The music and the movements were already interwoven. Having been created in perfect synchronicity over 4 years, their performance was the last act of the night. The piece, now renamed The Confession, was breathtaking. Marek, seated at the great concert piano, played with a feverish intensity he had never unleashed before. And their impossible love. It was her greatest performance, every leap and fall imbued with the knowledge that this was not a dress rehearsal for fame, but a farewell to innocence. When the music reached its emotional, heartbreaking climax and Anya held her final suspended point, the applause was not rapturous. It was choked, tearful. The audience understood they had not just witnessed a dance, but a final, fragile moment of peace being shattered. Afterward, backstage, they shared a moment in the dim light. Marek gently smoothed the back of her hand. "It was beautiful," he said, his voice flat with certainty. "It was the best thing I will ever write." Anya did not deny it. She knew it, too. This was their complete story. "I only danced the notes you confessed to the wall," she murmured. The war started days later. The enduring listener. Marek, swept up in the defense of his nation, was gone quickly, vanishing into the brutal chaos that enveloped Poland. The piano shop was shuttered. The theater was repurposed. Anya survived. She endured the occupation, carrying the memory of the music and the feel of the dance in her bones. When the war finally ended, she returned to the damaged Theater Stary. The practice room was still there, the paint flaking from the green wall. Marek was never seen again. No letter, no body, no word. His music, saved only on her sheet, was all that remained. Anya did not dance on stage again. Instead, she became a teacher, dedicating her life to nurturing the next generation of artists. But every evening, when her students had left and the room was empty, she would put on a pair of soft shoes, not for practice, but for memory. She would walk to the center of the room, near the shared wall, and she would move to the confession, the one piece of music she never needed a record player for. Her students, watching her from the doorway, whispered that she was dancing a silent symphony. They noted that in the most passionate, demanding moments of the dance, Anya always turned her face toward that dull green wall, her ear tilted slightly, listening not for the music that was, but for the one note that never came. She was listening for Marek, forever keeping the promise of their final performance, forever turning toward the source of the melody that stitched her heart together.